think we're gonna do is this the
My brother Tim.
yes, we got Tim
Hey,
live.
how's it going?
Been a while
Good to
since
see you
we've got a
guys.
Tim sighting on stream, and we
Yeah,
also
been off a
Arun
bit.
will be coming in as well. We have
Thank you,
Wizards talk.
sir.
But I think we're gonna do the NFL stuff real quickly first. And then we'll get into the Wizards. So while Arun's trying to get in here, I'll give Champ an opportunity to talk about his thoughts on the Commanders and the first day of free agency.
All right. Well, my brother Rune is here. So a really the first day of official free agency for the Commanders has been a very unique one. Well, it actually started 5 days ago when it was announced that they signed Zach Ertz for a 1 year, $5 million deal. Zach Ertz has been in the league for this. He's about to go into his 12th season, and he's already got 7,434 yards as a tight end with 46 touchdowns between his time in Philly and his couple seasons in Arizona. He did get on with Carolina, I believe it was. No, not Carolina, Detroit. But after a certain period of time, he was let go before they brought him up from their practice squad. So he never made it onto the actual main roster for their playoff run. So he ended up ending his season officially having his playing time in Arizona. So he'll be a welcome addition to that tight end room with a couple of young tight ends there. But the bigger moves were on the first day that happened on Monday, which was Frankie Louvu coming from Carolina, signing a 3 year, $36 million deal. He spent his first 40 games with the New York Jets. He was drafted by the Jets. He had 59 tackles, 44 solos, 6 sacks, and a forced fumble. But then he played 31 games with Carolina, including 16 starts, and that's where he blew up, where he had 54 tackles, 102 solo in his entire stay in Carolina, including 111 tackles, 76 solo just last season. 8.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and 3 fumble recoveries, which led to him getting such a nice little contract of 3 years, $36 million from the Commanders to be a part of that linebacker core. Durance Armstrong, one of 2 former Cowboys that were signed today. He spent his entire career with Dallas, racking up 169 tackles, 101 of them solos, and 23 and a half sacks playing on that defensive line for the Cowboys. Tyler Biadasz spent his entire career with Dallas. He's the other Dallas Cowboy that we signed to a 3 year, $30 million deal. Armstrong got 3 years, $45 million. Armstrong had made 53 starts in 61 games played for Dallas, and had played in 30,725 snaps. His first year as a rookie, he only played in 4 games that season, but then after that was a regular starter for the Cowboys on their offensive line. And as you know, the Cowboys offense over the last couple of years had some very, very big numbers thanks to having great protection for Dak Prescott in that passing game. So Tyler will be a good addition for the Commanders when it comes to the offensive line with the departure of Charles. But the other signing that was a big, big signing was Austin Ekeler, the longtime Los Angeles Charger, who signed on 2 years, $11 million, spent his entire career so far with the Chargers, 7 seasons, playing in 103 games, 68 starts, including being a starter for 4 straight seasons, racking up 990 rushes for 4,355 yards, averaging 4.4 a carry with 39 touchdowns. He was also deadly in the passing game, 444 catches for 3,884 yards, an 8.8 yard average, and 30 receiving touchdowns. And he's only had 21 fumbles and only 15 loss in 7 seasons. Compare that to Zach Ertz, who's been in the game for almost now going to his 12th season. He's only fumbled 5 times and lost 4 of them. Think about that. How reliable you have to be as a pass catcher that in 12 seasons, you've only had 5 fumbles and lost 4 of them. That's the type of reliability you want to have in the passing game to help out a young quarterback such as a Sam Howell when it comes to this. But what my theory is with the signing of Austin Ekeler, Antonio Gibson may be on the way out because you're not going to get rid of Robinson. He's only going into his 3rd year in and stuff. He's still under a rookie contract. So most likely Gibson may be the expendable one in that running back room and things of that nature. And that's my only worry. Or I don't see Chris Rodriguez being the one that's expendable with the performance he put on and the limited reps that he got during the regular season. So I think with the Eckler signing, Antonio Gibson's on the way out, but a really good first day of free agency for the Commanders, showing that with the amount of cap space that they have, that they were going out to find some good pieces to fit in to this new scheme that Dan Quinn is trying to bring in on both offense and defense.
Sounds good. Well, thank you for the recap. That is great. A lot of moves happened, today in a very short period of time. So they're hitting the ground running. Supposedly they're not doing press conferences or major talks about any of their players for a couple of days. I think it was either tomorrow, but I think it may
It's
be
Wednesday is official.
Yeah, so Wednesday's the official day for it for people to announce it. Is that true for all teams that they can't do media until then? That
Yeah, because it's before today it was illegal tampering period, and now it's legal tampering, which means you can do verbal deals. So they announce them, but you can't sign them and do the press conference until like Wednesday late.
So somebody
for
could
every team.
swoop in and like give him a better deal in this time.
Yeah, every once in a while there's like a deal that falls through, but I mean they're pretty solid because it's like makes an agent look bad if they back out. But I mean, it happens.
Yeah, interesting. Tim, do you know of any of the Ravens moves or anything interesting that stood out to you today?
They lost a couple players. And I know they talked to Derrick Henry, so I could see that signing if the money's right. But they lost a couple players like Gus Edwards, big running back, and Geno Stone, safety to the Bengals, which hurts because it's a divisional rival, but um the Ravens can't afford a lot of those guys. So I knew it was gonna happen. And also you get compensation picks if you lose guys that you draft. So it's kind of nice that you get like a 6 rounder at least when you lose those guys that are homegrown.
Tim, I want to know your feeling about Russell Wilson being in your division now.
I think it was a good signing for the Steelers, obviously, because I don't think it's a big deal and it's 1 year. So it's low risk for them. I don't think he's that. I think he will win the job. I don't think he's going to be great just because I think he's a little bit over the hill, but the Steelers don't need like an MVP caliber quarterback if their defense is still good like last year. So I think it definitely makes the division better. And you might say now that Cleveland is possibly the weakest link because they have basically, yeah, Watson, the highest paid quarterback in the division, but he's probably, you could argue he's the worst now because he's been hurt and hasn't played great. So I know, like, for example, some of their fans wanted Flacco back, but he's not coming back. So I would say the Steelers are probably going to be really competitive next year.
And then Cincinnati, T. Higgins wants to trade. He wants out of Cincy. So there's a lot going
Yeah.
on in the AFC North.
Yeah, the Bengals never pay people, so I think he's going to get traded. They have a lot of bad blood with players, and they actually use the franchise tag just to literally keep a guy. Like they don't negotiate with their franchise tag a lot, which is kind of messed up. But they have a great quarterback, so I think if he's healthy, they'll be good. If not, he gets hurt again, they won't. But he can keep them competitive. It's just the rest of their roster will probably be a little bit worse because they don't really spend and they have too many young guys that need to get paid. So
I just wanted to ask those questions since you're the AFC North guy and stuff like that.
Yeah,
yeah,
I
thanks,
agree.
man.
I want to get Arun's quick thoughts on free agency. You can talk about the Commanders or any of the other news that's coming out if he wants to real quickly while I refresh my drink real fast.
Yeah, I think the Austin Eckler signing was a really solid signing, as Ken alluded to. Like he has a lot of passing yards and receiving yards and rushing yards over the last 7 years, and they only signed him for $11 million over 2 years. So, given that contract, I would think that like a contender would probably sign him, but I guess the running back market the prices aren't even that high anymore. Washington still needs to address its offensive line. So saw a couple running backs changing teams. Swift, I think he went to a new team, and Gus Edwards, he signed somewhere else. But
Swift went to Chicago.
Yeah, Chicago, like, so the Eagles, like, they'll probably be looking for a running back in the draft or free agency, and there's still like a couple, like Derrick Henry.
Well, the
Eagles got Saquon.
Eagles got Saquon.
Yeah. I forgot Tiki Barber. He's going off on Saquon Barkley apparently.
Yeah, we saw that in our group chat, right, Robbie?
Yeah, I was posting that in the group chat. It was why, I mean, Tiki said he was dead to him, and then he was like, well, you never liked me anyway, and don't smile at me next time I see you when we're walking around. Like,
it worked out for Eli Manning, so it's not like, I mean,
by the way, gentlemen, breaking news that just broke 20 minutes ago. The Cincinnati Bengals are releasing Joe Mixon after 7 seasons and signing former Indianapolis Colts running back Zach Moss to a 2-year, $8 million contract.
Wow, that's a big.
He regressed, I would say. I'm not shocked, but the timing is shocking.
Yeah. Real quickly, I'm going to switch gears to talk Wizards for just like 2 minutes. They're not going to get a lot of our time. I just want to talk about the fact they actually have a win streak for once.
1 minute per win, I would say.
Yeah, exactly. 1 minute per win. There you go. They lost to Utah when we last let off on the podcast. They were actually winning by 1 when we went off air on the podcast part of it. But I was talking to Josh, and they ended up losing that game by the end of my Twitch stream. They ended up losing that game 127 to 115. They played against Orlando in Washington. The next game, they lost that one by 10, 119 to 109. But finally, Charlotte. Shout out to Stuart, who's a fan of the show. It was his birthday, and not the Stuart that was on earlier. There's a Caps and Wizards fan, and so he was so excited because he got courtside seats, and he brought them the luck they needed. They were able to win that game 112 to 100. Basically, the Wizards outscored them in the first. Hornets came back. Then Hornets actually took the lead in the second half, and the Wizards had to come storming back, outscored them 44 to 24 to win that game by 12. And then in Miami, it was a really close game, back and forth. There was actually an opportunity for Butler to win it at the buzzer and didn't, I believe. And he said something about how he never goes for the tie. He only goes for the win. So I'll just get each of your quick thoughts on the Wizards win streak. So I'll start off with you, Arun.
Yeah, so they beat the Miami Heat, which is really surprising because I don't even think last year they beat Miami when we went to the game, but Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero and Jimmy Butler didn't play, so that doesn't really count. But this game,
no,
Butler,
they won the game. I thought we went to.
No, they won, but like half the team was injured.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And so, like, the top, like, 3 of the 4 guys were out. And Kyle Lowry was the best player there. And since then, the Miami Heat have traded Kyle Lowry because they got an upgrade. And it was, like, the new and improved Miami Heat. But even then, they started Kyle Kuzma at center because Marvin Bagley's injured. And still the Wizards won the game. And I think the officiating has changed since the All-Star break because people were complaining that there are too many fouls. So that kind of explains why the Wizards have been playing a little bit better recently because they've been allowed to play more defense. And Jimmy Butler didn't get to the line as much, even though the Wizards had like an 8-point lead with like 2 minutes to go. And they almost blew it because Bilal Coulibaly got injured and they put in Jordan Poole, who was minus 21 for the game, but only minus 14 in the first half, so minus 7 in the second half. So he improved enough.
Doing better.
So just the Wizards, and they beat the Hornets. They didn't have LaMelo Ball, and the Wizards I think they lost 2 of the last games against the Hornets, but rough week for the Hornets. They just lost to the Pistons today, so I think they did come out with a win after they beat the Wizards. But yeah, the Wizards were the hottest team in the Eastern Conference. They were the only team with 2 wins. So shout out to Wizards being the hottest team. And the last time they won a game, they won 2 games in a row, so hopefully they don't lose 16 straight again. Like set another franchise
I was
record.
happy they're not going to set the record for most losses in a row. So, I know that it's something we could have talked about, but I'm just happy we avoided that. So, we're short on time, but Tim, I'll let you give your quick thoughts on the win streak before we end this segment. And then I'm going to actually get Champ's thoughts on the Wizards, DC United, and wrestling. We're going to do that as a segment after we have Katie's segment. So we'll probably end the audio podcast here, but if people want to get our thoughts on those things, they can always go back and check out the highlights of the Twitch feed, and it'll be on our YouTube channel as well. So, but Tim, your quick thoughts on the Wizards.
I think Arun basically said it all, and you did too. I mean, just at this point, you don't want to set the record. We know the team is going to get a very high draft pick, which they need. Hopefully, they won't miss on it like they do a lot. But it is nice to see a lot of young guys playing and get that experience. I'm glad that they're still fighting, and they made us talk about them for 2 minutes, so at least they're still playing hard. Not every team's doing that. So also shout out to the Vegas odds makers for favoring the Wizards by like 1 or 2 points in that game. That was a bold pick, but they knew that it was coming to an end. So
Yeah, they were favored by 2 points, and they actually did even better than that. So
yeah, they covered.
I
So
thought that was interesting for sure. But Tim and Arun, I've missed you guys being on the show. It's been a
definitely.
couple weeks. It's fun to see you guys back again and be able to talk a little bit of Wizards and a little bit of football again. And Arun, I think I'm going to have you on for the NCAA segment. We're going to have Davey is eating a sandwich joining us, and also Ryan that E flat guy joining us next week as part of our 8-year anniversary special of streaming. And so that'll be really fun to have Arun, who's covered every year with us with March Madness, back for that segment as well. And then Tim, maybe I'll have you back in a couple of weeks, maybe even have you live here for on the 1st, I believe, is the NCAA final game. And maybe we'll do one of those.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
I'll have you and Arun over to watch that game live to start season 9 on April 1st. So things to look forward to on the podcast. But I really appreciate both of you guys for joining us tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having us, and have a good rest of the show.
Yeah, same.
Peace out, fellas.
All
See ya,
right.
man.
So,
Bye.
Champ, I'm going to have you fade into the background for a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit more sports at the end of the show. I appreciate you for modding and being a part of this segment. I am going to end the Facebook Live here for anyone that's watching on Facebook or anybody that is listening to the audio podcast. You can definitely check out episodes 335 next week for our 8-year anniversary special. We'll be live on Facebook. I am live right now on my Facebook page, personal one. The show page is still having some issues. And so I will be live on there again next week. And if you want to stay tuned, live on twitch.tv/RobbieG_SportsOTHP. We're going to have a special guest on in just a moment. Voice unmuted. Katie will talk about this awesome charity raid train that we've been a part of, as well as talk about her upcoming EP. So definitely check us out over on Twitch or on YouTube. I'll have the replay up tomorrow as well. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and we will talk to you guys next week.
Go, Guillermo. Sayonara.
All right, we are out on Facebook. We are still recording. I will see you in a few, Champ. Thank you so much for modding.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So we're